All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Anderson. I'm here with the Baxter County Library. I work back in the history genealogy section, reference. I want to thank you and welcome you here. This is our second presentation, our encore presentation of our very past, and it has to do with the Corps of Engineers and the project that we are working in hand with them. As we begin this, I would like to mention a few things. We are going to see things that are maybe sometimes that you might be uncomfortable with. You're going to see cemeteries. You're going to see tombstones in broken condition. You're going to see them busted up in pieces. There's reasons for that, so don't jump to conclusions. There's perfectly legitimate reasons why you were seeing them in that condition, because they were getting ready to move. I had people talk to me about that last time. I have looked for these. I have gone to the Corps of Engineers. I've looked for these negatives or these photographs. I didn't realize they were negatives. I looked for them for quite a few years. About a year ago, last December, I received a phone call, and we heard that they had come across some negatives. Would I come down and take a look at them? That afternoon, I was down there. There was a little over 4,500 negatives total. We are not going to digitally scan all the negatives. Some of the negatives are of the construction of the dam, showing the integrity of the dam, certain joints and composition of the dam that would be maybe not the most prudent thing to do now in today's society for security reasons, and so that's why we're not doing part of that. The one really big reason that we really wanted to do this is to show the natural history, geography, the flora and fauna of the White River Valley. And so this accomplishes so much. And so we're going to get a chance to look at what the White River looked at 1946 all the way to 1952 in the project. We're going to see mainly 1946 to 1948, a couple 1949s. But we're going to focus on the latter 40s, and so you go in with an eye and take a look at see what you can glean from that. I would like to say I've had some volunteers. I had Donna Greer. She came the first couple of months and helped me digitally scan, and then I was fortunate enough to have someone that had some background in digital photography and scanning and archiving, Christy Schmid. She has been a great asset over the, how long have we been doing this? You've been doing this a year? For a while. And so she just sat down and just started doing it, and she knew the equipment quite well, and we took to it. So I'm going to go ahead. Are you ready to begin on the focus of this? Take a look up here. Does this look familiar, this picture? Does the bridge look familiar, the landscape? Forget the water, does the landscape look familiar? This is the railroad bridge down at Cotter. The bridge above the water line is about 65 feet. And so if you take a look at the river right there, it's not 65 feet, but you have about 10 feet to play with. That's a big flood. The White River has experienced throughout history of the past 200 years. We know the White River had floods in 1824, 1826, 1832, 1848, 1858 was major. It was close to the 1826 flood. 1858, 1862 during the Civil War, major deluge. 1888, 1892, 1915, 1927. 1915, 1927 sparked something in America through the federal government, and it was actually called the Flood Act of 1938. Flood Control Act of 1938. This is a portion of the Baxter Bulletin, talking a little bit about that. In 1938, we have $310,000. Actually, it should be $310 million. I misspoke on that one. If you were actually going to do it today's calculation, should add some more zeros there. It's going to be $6.2 billion invested into this whole region through here for 6 dams total. And for the first year in 1937, they already invested $50 million throughout the White River region. And a lot of that was already focusing on the other dam of what? Norfolk. And so here's what we actually ended up with. These are our images. This is our negative images that we have. And when we laid them down on the whiteboard, this is what we saw. So you take a look here, you go, oh, that looks kind of fun and cool. This is actually about 500 yards south of the dam proper right now, downstream. And so we pop it to black and white. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this right up here. And the first thing I think, oh, it's got a fire. There's a dozer deck somewhere. They're burning something. And it's not. It's an artifact left from when they placed it into the archives or whatever to their storage. It's an old style paperclip. I'm all excited. Then I go back and start looking. I found the paperclip on the envelope and it actually matched up. I'm like, oh man. So there are artifacts. These pictures are not perfect. So there are artifacts. You're going to see little white specks here and there. You're going to see some water damage on some of these. And you kind of go, oh man, water damage. Actually, some of the water damage, thank goodness for the water damage, because it actually highlighted some things that we might not have seen. So I will show you where the blessing of the water damage is. So always find the blessing somewhere on this. We get up a little bit closer. This is up on Lee Mountain. And if you look up there, I thought, oh, got a nice cloud up there. And that's not a cloud, that is water damage. And so the back of every truck, and it says, let me see if I can just scroll that in. Just click it and scroll for everyone to see. That's kind of cool here. Can you read that? Safety always. It's two words. Safety in all ways. So they just kind of broke the word up. It was their theme. And so as they were building the Bull Shoals Dam, this was their theme. This was painted on buildings. This was painted on cards, printed on cards. It was on signs around the dam. It was on signs at the construction and the quarry. So it was safety all ways. So here's our water damage, but anyway, this is out between Flippin and Yellville. And let's go back here. I kind of got out of sync here. Here we go. We're going to focus right now on Cotter, Arkansas. This is present day Cotter. And then we have the Rainbow Bridge, and then right here we have the railroad going through here. So we're going to focus on Cotter right above. That is right here, this right here is where the railroad is today. The yellow line is where the railroad took off for 18 miles along the White River all the way up to Bull Shoals Dam construction site. And so we have a total of around 780 negatives of the construction of the railroad all the way up the White River. And then we have, there's the depot, the train depot, and so we're going to focus on that. Here's the White River. I love these these new photographs. You see this right here? This is a wing dam that was built by the Corps of Engineers in 1878 for steamboats. So they built a wing dam here, and the steamboats would come up here. There was also another wing dam here to block everything else off. So this was the main channel in 1878. So here is our negative. And I saw this negative immediately. I'm thinking, oh, we finally got Cotter. And we do have some nice photographs of Cotter. And so here's the negative. You'll see right here, BSRR, Bull Shoals Railroad. This is negative number 87. And we pop it to black and white, and this is what we get. And pretty cool. I thought, well, let's put it into color. So we put it through our software, and this is what we get in color.
Amazing.
And so I'm looking at this, and this is cool.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, the dirt is wrong. The dirt is wrong. So I go down and take a picture of this area. I take a sample from the picture, and this was a weekend project. It was a fun project, but I'm sitting at the computer doing this. And so I'm taking my samples, and I get this right here. And so we have basically pretty well restored, pretty close. You're also going to see sometimes things will turn kind of orangish sometimes when they should be yellow. I have not gone in and corrected everything. The dirt just bothered me. So I just had to do the dirt.
Didn't look like Cotter dirt.
Didn't look like Cotter dirt, no. And so, because I've walked those railroads many times. I walked them again this weekend just to see it. And after we clean it up, this is what we get.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool beans.
Yeah, nice.
As we're working our way down, we see Cotter proper. Right down, this is about 500 yards from the depot. So they have their own railroad system in tandem at the railroad depot. And so they're loading up their supply so that they need another railroad going all the way up to the construction site because they've got generators, they've got heavy machinery that has to go all the way up there. And so how are you going to get it up there, this heavy equipment, through a railroad? And so we're working our way on up around the bend. Here they are building the railroads, and they're putting the gravel and packing it in around the new railroad ties here. And this is the new railroad coming up. You're leaving Cotter, you're on the other side of the bridge, and this is where it's taking off all the way to Bull Shoals right here. And there's where it looks like today. And we have this, and so if you pull down to the big spring, you're going to see this extra gap or space right here. That's where they joined in at. I'm just tickled with the software that actually colored this. If you can see right here today, we do not have this big berm here, this natural berm. This is excavated all out, and so today it's much smaller. And here they are leaving. There's the Rainbow Bridge. There's the railroad bridge right here, and now they're taking off across, and they're working their way out. I did not realize doing this, and I've walked down through there, I didn't realize how much excavation that took place, even leaving Cotter. A lot of excavation took place. One of the reasons I did this, one time I was doing a tour in 2014 with a group, and we were up at Bull Shoals Dam, and a lady said, what a beautiful, natural, picturesque place. And we were looking at the lake. And I'm thinking, yes, it is, and it's beautiful. But I'm thinking, this is not natural. And that was in 2014. I thought, man, it'd really be nice to have the pictures of what it looked like before. So now we're going to get to see. Putting in a dam is hard on the environment. I'm just going to say this. Thank goodness for the dam, and we're not being flooded out, and we've got a great environment now, and businesses flourish with it. But putting it in, just calculate what was going on. I love this. This is a great picture right here, and it's taking off. Today, we do not have this nice level platform going off. It dips down today, and this is where it takes off through here, and it's all grown up. I took this picture 2 weekends ago. And there we have the walking trail, and that's actually where the railroad went through. And then it hooks up with the Denton Ferry Road all the way up towards Monkey Run. And before you go up there's that road up to Monkey Run, but then there's another bridge across Bruce Creek, all the way over to Gaston's, all the way up to the dam. And so that's how it follows. I had to grab this one. My granny wore dresses like that. Man, I just thought of my Granny Anderson. She wore dresses just like that. So we had quite a few people working at the dam. I had this one, somebody sent me this to my house. It was on my front porch in a package. But here we have somebody that's working at the dam, Ozark Dam Constructors, Bull Shoals Dam, Mountain Home, Arkansas. Total wages, there's your taxes. He lives up in Isabella. We just think of people around here, but when the dam came in, we had people from all over coming down here, living for a week, camping out different places and houses, cabins, just packing people in. And this is Isabella. Everyone know where Isabella is? Go up to Ozark County, Missouri, go across towards Theodosia. Right before you get to Theodosia, you have Isabella. So I have a couple dam pictures, a couple pictures of the dam construction. And so I wanted to show this one right here. This is the beginning of pouring the concrete for the dam. And then we have the gentleman that the engineers and the colonel responsible for doing this, Colonel Schweitzer and his crew. And this is what they look like. Now, they are on the Marion County side of the river. This is where Bull Shoals Dam is at. Here they are. This is where the dam is at. You see this little guy right here? That's how far off he is. He's actually drilling a hole down there. This is where Bull Shoals Dam will come in at all the way to the top of the mountain, all the way down across. So this is at the very beginning, the inaugural, pretty much inaugural month that it was starting right here. This picture was taken in 1949, and it was in the springtime. Can't remember the month, but I know it's 49 spring. This is the 1 millionth cubic yard of concrete on the project here. And some of the big wigs getting their picture out here. And they're on top of the dam here. And if you look out on the dam right now, if you walk out across there, you're going to see this mountain up here. And right above this gentleman's hat right here, that is the conveyor belt coming down the mountain from Lee Mountain. So a little over 7 miles. And we're going to take a look at that in a moment. We are leaving Cotter right now. You're going to see some of our fingers in here because these things were warped and they were bent and they had rubber bands on them and they would not lay down and be nice to us. And you basically have to take your fingers and kind of stretch and pull and quickly snap. And so you're going to see fingers sometimes. This is leaving Cotter. You'll see Cotter Farms there. And this right here is the creek that comes in a couple miles north of Cotter. It's Hightower Creek. So we're building railroad bridges across the creek. So they're putting in these great foundations, and you're going to see the foundations being poured. When they're finished with these, they pull the foundations out and everything else, and then they build a road. Then they're going to let you build a road. How they do that, they blast them out with dynamite. And so if there's a problem with erosion on Hightower Creek and they're having problems with the county of building bridges and stuff right there, this is just a standard, this is what they do. They're putting everything back the way it was, but how it actually happened. And so, zipping on through. This is about 200 yards north of the railroad bridge in Cotter, and you're heading towards Bull Shoals. This is what they're looking at, and they have got to cut through here to put a train through. And there's the Hopkins Overlook Bluff. So when you're coming down the Cotter, on the right-hand side, there's this overlook that you can pull your car off and look over. That's what's right there. And right there is the river, and this is what they're going to have to go through and make a railroad. Some gutsy people, I think, sometimes. There's some gutsy engineering. There's one bluff that's coming up. It's called Mud Bluff for a reason. and the Corps called it Mud Bluff. They came up with it. And so now we're coming around the bend from Cotter. Do you see the bridge right up here in the top?
Yep.
Oh, this is a good one here too. They're climbing up here and they're chopping off parts of the bluff so they can actually put the railroad in right here. If you ever get a chance to go down to Cotter park down there and take a walk up up the walking trail and just think, this was the railroad. Now they are splicing and cutting off different parts for the railroad and the rails here. They're grinding and cutting those right here. Right here, they had a problem. All the notation said was a problem. I don't know if the problem with their hacksaw, with their engine. They've got this little engine with the hacksaw on it, and it cuts away. And there's a YouTube out there that actually that show these cutting through. So this was the technology of 1948. This is it. This is the yard where they're doing all their splicing and making their everything else right there, and they're welding and cutting. There's the depot, and there's Cotter down here. Now we're working our way up the river. Okay, now we are going to get into, that one got in there for somewhere. Here we go. We're clicking around, we're leaving. Ah, there we go. This is before you get to Denton Ferry. This is a little bit of the bottom right here. Finally kind of smooths out a little bit. And some of the cool things about it, you're going to see some older structures along the river here. This is Hearst Fishing right here. They had to move these. They had to pick every one of these up. They scooped every one of them up. They relocated them off the way where the railroad was going to go. Look at the tiles. I'm just looking at different things. Look at the tiles on the roof. It was pretty cool. That's not cheap stuff. That's some quality shingles right there. Building your water pressure out at the camp here. And here's all the little fishing cabins. And now here we are relocated. Heading on down the river. Okay, as you go down Rainbow Drive Road from Cotter, and you go down the bottom hill, there's a big barn on the right-hand side and a spring. This is that spring right there. So, guys ever stop and drink from that? You're not supposed to drink from springs. I have, but you're not supposed to. And now we're going to have more construction here. This slide took nothing really to fix. I remember this one. I had to put it in here because I was so proud of it, because I didn't have to do anything to it. So it's got to be somebody's grandpa here. So this is getting ready. This is on a bluff. This is before you get, this is 8 miles up the river. And they've already taken and cut some of the cliff off here. And then you have somebody that is climbing up that bluff and he's digging and excavating this out. That is, I actually went through the newspapers and I looked through reports for somebody getting hurt doing this. I haven't found anything yet. You can find things on North Fork, people getting hurt, people getting killed. There's not really anything on Bull Shoals. So, I I know there's a 10-year difference, but still, it's pretty amazing. We've got some rocks falling off here. You see this little band all the way around? You know what that was? That's Scotch tape. I'm not complaining about that either. That's what they did back then. It gives us evidence of how they were doing different things. Actually, this thing was in 2 pieces. Software can really do a lot of great things of piecing things together, but when there's not color to it, have a hard time adding things into it. So these are foundations for railroad bridges. And so they went through here and dug trenches. This is on Hightower Creek. The creek is up here, and it's going to come across right through here. Put in their forms for the concrete. Pour in the concrete here. They had this mixer here. They did not have a truck. They had the mixer here, and they mixed it in this mixer with shovel, water, and their concrete. I mean, they were doing it by hand. I mean, they're not mixing it by hand, but they had their machine there, but they ran and dumped the loads back and forth. So you could call up Guy King or Mountain Home Ready Mix and say, hey, we're ready for another 20 yards. You're going to do it right there.
So those are the bags of concrete.
Those are the bags of concrete right there. Up there's the mixer. You put it in the mixer. It's diesel powered. Alice Chambers. I can't remember the model number on it, but that's what they were using. And then they dumped it into that wheelbarrow, 2-man. See the big wheels on the wheelbarrow up there?
Yeah, the boards to hold it up.
And so that looks like kind of wagon wheels right here.
Yeah. Wow. One bag at a time.
And so now we've got the foundation in. Now they are raising up the timbers to create the bridge. Pawpaw. I don't know who's Pawpaw. This is Pawpaw. I mean, that. I can tell you right off soon as that's a Ford tractor. I grew up bush hogging with one of these things as a kid. My cousin had one.
9N.
Is it? I remember driving that thing. I remember bucking hay behind one of those tractors. So, okay, this right here is right at the end of Denton Ferry Road as you keep going up the river road. This is Bruce Creek. And if you go over across Bruce Creek, you're going to hit the valley again and you're going to work your way on up into Gaskins. So this is Bruce Creek right here. If you go there right now, the foundations, some of the foundations are still there, and you'll still see some splinters from the dynamite charges because they blew the bridge up. So there was not a thoroughfare across there, but they blew the bridge up, and you can still see the shattered timbers, parts of the shattered timbers, and the concrete foundations that were dug into the ground. Now they have been washed out, and so the foundations are sticking up out of the ground. I've got pictures of those at home somewhere. And here we go. And they're doing this by hand. So this is to eliminate the erosion. So these guys are out here with all the rocks and they're stacking it by hand. Just remember, they're doing all this work and they're going to be using this railroad mainly for 2 years. That's it. 2 years. And they're doing all, and for me, I'm thinking, just put grass up there and let it, for erosion, just put grass up there, but they're stacking rocks. Wow.
I wonder where they got the rocks.
They actually got these rocks out from Cotter when they were blasting the bluffs. And there's another bluff called Mud Bluff where they were blasting and they were using those for reinforcements and just shoring up the erosion here. This is coming into Mud Bluff. And so, actually they had a flood, well they had a major storm and it washed out the railroad and they had to come back in here and shore everything else up. It's like a postcard, isn't it? There's one just like this, and over here, this area is where it's the woodland, actually. Forest Wood and his family have it. There's one picture, I don't think I have it. You can see cattle out in the field and cattle coming out in the river, getting a drink. So whoever took this picture, it looks like they're hanging from a tree. They climbed up in a tree to get this picture, but for landscape pictures, this is one of my personal favorites. I mean, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. You see these posts drop through here? We're getting close to the dam. We're about within the first, we're about a half mile from the dam spot location. The dam is going to be right through here, connecting right up here with this mountain. We are wrapping up. All right. Cool. Now we're going to talk about Lee Mountain. Lee Mountain is north of Flippin, about a mile, and then you turn left down Highway 202, and you're going to go a couple miles. It's going to be on your right-hand side. And so I've kind of got a picture of that. This is Lee Mountain. Gassville, here's Cotter. When you go across the new Cotter Bridge, you are facing, pretty much as a crow flies, you're facing Lee Mountain. It's just about where it's at. And so you think where that's at, over in Marion County, and then you got to go north up to Bull Shoals. And they cut through just as much as a crow could fly straight in the Ozarks. That's kind of what they did. Here's a picture of Lee Mountain. Here's Highway 202. You see the escarpment right here? We'll get a little bit closer. That's Lee Mountain today. And you can still see the evidence of everything being chiseled off of the mountain. And there is Lee Mountain. Boom. There's some other pictures of Lee Mountain. You've got some really nice grasses. You got a big blue stem called turkey's foot, little blue stem, little turkey's foot. You have a lot of gamma grass. You have some buffalo grass. This is what you call an Ozark savanna. This is natural Ozark stuff. You have persimmon trees, you got scrub brush through here. That's the Ozarks. The trees along that you're going to see through here, some of the oldest trees that you can actually look at and estimate, you're looking about 100 to 130 years old. That's it. That's the biggest trees that are there. It's still a pretty young forest. So the Ozarks was not all wooded hills and valleys. This is called Ozark Savanna. It's rolling prairie. I love this picture. I love so many pictures here.
Was that from when the dam was being built?
Yes, right before they started the excavation. That picture was 1946. Here's 1946. This is February. January 30th, 1946. They're up on Lee Mountain. There's a spring up on the mountain, so they're doing some geology excavation, saying, okay, how are we going to deal with this water? Is it going to be a problem or whatever? And it didn't turn out to be too bad of a problem. Our geologist. So here is the forest on Lee Mountain. So it looks kind of bad, everyone. It's all cut down, but look, it's young. It's a young forest. See all these trees here? I like this one. You see that? Boom! And you got some sycamore trees up here that's already sprouting. That was 1949. 1949. Seismometer. Okay, so we're going to have all these blasts on Lee Mountain. People were concerned about their houses in Flippin, okay? So we have a seismometer. And so here it is. This is what was stationed over near City Hall in Flippin. There it is. And so, I do not have any of the readings. I can't find them, but they had it there, so. We have our lights going on here, so they can keep working and keep excavating. They're building forms here, and up on top of the form, they're gonna put the plant to crush everything and then to send it off down on the conveyor belt. The conveyor belt, again, is around 7 miles, a little over 7 miles, just a hair over. And so they are building the plant and the foundation. Now they're working their way, up here is that plant where they're gonna do everything and send it off down here. And right here is the conveyor belt. This one is kind of overexposed. Tried working with it. It's just, you get what you get some days. And so, but it's still a pretty good picture. We got some really good ones coming up here. And so here's the plant, and it comes down in here, it starts crushing in here. So that's where everything's being crushed at down in there. And somebody's got to get in there and pick things off so it can keep crushing and working. So I looked for any records on Lee Mountain for anybody getting hurt here. Somebody had to, snag a fingernail or something. I don't know. So, but he does have you see, he does have a safety belt and a wire on him. So if he falls in, they can pull him back up. So that's nice. They're clearing off the timber. They are building here. Conveyor belt. The conveyor belt actually passed over 178. There was one spot on 178. The conveyor belt passed over, and people would drive underneath the conveyor belt. And as a kid, I remember uncles talking about my grandpa pulling underneath a conveyor belt. Stopping there, my grandpa stopped underneath there, and a rock fell out and hit the truck. So as we're coming down the mountain, we're coming up to the Bull Shoals site here, and conveyor belt here.
Do you know if any other dams ever had a conveyor belt like this?
Not that I know of that long. I think that was the one right there. What you do, you have the dam that's going to come in here. You have the river that's being cut through here. Then they're going to pump in through here. They have a reservoir of water, and this reservoir, they take it and they filter it, and they use it for their concrete. They have railroad cars full of concrete, and they pull it up here, and then they're going to mix it here. And so they're going to start mixing the concrete. They're going to pump it from here. They're going to mix it here, and then they're going to shoot it off to the dam there. So the conveyor belt is fallible, and so it breaks every so often, and so you have to patch it up. This is August 1950. So the conveyor belt apparently broke here, and so they're going to have to cut it and repatch it. So everything went down, so you got the two guys cutting it. They're using glue, and then they're going to roll the glue in there, and they're going to stick it on there. And once you get it stuck on there, they're going to take it in there, and they have this press, and they press it through to make it secure. This is a good picture. Here's the conveyor belt. It's running, 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 running. It goes right over the hill. It comes right here, and it drops down. So the Bull Shoals Dam is right here. This is from Lee Mountain. Somebody is on top of the crushing plant as it's falling everything out from the mountain.
So did they have to dynamite the rock from the mountain to put in the crusher?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They had chargers. They also had drills that they would go on top of the mountain and drill through, and then they would just set charges in the holes and just drop it off. And then they had dump trucks dump trucks would come over with the load and they would start crushing it. And so, and they had different grades of gravel to put it through. This is the plant where they're actually working in the concrete and things like that. We got cows out here. So my grandpa had a farm a mile north of here. I just wonder if that's his stray or something. He was a cattle farmer. Okay, so now we're going to start on a different section here. We're going to do on the cemeteries. Okay, we're in good time. We're going to do the cemeteries that were underneath the lake, that's currently underneath the lake, because they exhumed all the bodies. So let's talk a little bit about that. I have a sheet of paper back there that you can take home with you. And on the sheet of paper is the official list from the Corps of Engineers. And it has every cemetery that they had on their docket. And every cemetery has its own number of negatives. And when I found this was my key. This was my key. I got really excited when I started reading some of these names on here. You're going to see these negatives were in this package here, and you're going to see unique names up here. So let's go ahead and talk about it, okay? We have this name right here. We have the Free Black. It's the Free Black Cemetery. And we're going to be talking about that cemetery here in about 10 minutes as we buzz through here, and we're going to talk about the history of that it's here in Baxter County. So that's what it looks like. So this is our first cemetery. This is the No Cemetery, N-O-E. This is down between Promised Land and Bull Shoals on the Baxter County on the east side. This is out in the middle of a field, No Creek. And so you can, I want you to take a look right here. We have the rock wall, we have the obelisk monument, but it's all grown up. This is a good looking cemetery. For the Ozarks, this is fantastic. Here's some of our water damage. Our cemetery negatives have more water damage than any other negatives. Hurt my heart on that part. But here we are in the middle, on the river bottom, N-O-E, Dr. No. He was a doctor, Promised Land, Amos area, all the way up to Oakland. And I think he passed away in 1865. And they're looking at going up to the Promised Land Church, and this is going to be the new cemetery right here. So that's what it looks like. So what happened? Every cemetery has a cemetery board. So that cemetery board is put together by families who have family members in that cemetery, okay? That cemetery board goes through, and then they put a stake by every gravestone, by every burial site, by every field stone. So the Corps comes in with a contractor, and they dig up and exhume every body that has a stake to it. So did the Corps of Engineers bury people underneath the lake? No. Mama and Pawpaw did. If somebody's left underneath the lake, somebody in that cemetery board overlooked something. The Corps of Engineers did not bury anyone underneath the lake. I grew up hearing that. I grew up fishing on the lake looking for things floating above the water, okay? So it didn't happen, okay? So every cemetery, and the cemetery board signed off that yes, everything is clear here. So that's how it actually happened. And so you're going to start seeing those stakes here. And here we have, this is the new one. So they measure every grave where everyone is located, and they go back into the new cemetery, and they built identical for where it was at up here on the ridge at Promised Land, and they put everybody in the exact location, even if they were unknown. They built a rock fence. Everything is identical. Pretty cool. So here's the new one. I remember seeing this as a kid growing up. Here it is today. So this is another cemetery. This is called the Anglin Cemetery. This Anglin Cemetery, Anglins are now buried in Whiteville. The Whiteville Cemetery. A lot of them are there too. Some of them are also buried up in the New Oakland Cemetery, Highway 5 North, right before you hit the state line. This is the cemetery. This is common. So thank goodness for the Corps of Engineers coming in saying, hey, we need a cemetery board, let's take care of this and exhume the people, because this is pretty common. We have somebody underneath a field. Now this is a large creek stone that they buried someone in. So you're gonna do this because out in the Ozarks, you cannot dig 6 feet sometimes. And so you may be able to plant them 3 feet. And then you're going to need to cover them up. So they put stones over the bodies like this to protect the bodies from, number one, from the elements, number two, let's just be honest, from animals digging them up, okay? And so it's a protecting. So it's very common throughout here. A lot of this comes from East Tennessee through the Cumberland Mountains. We are at the Oakland Cemetery. So this is underneath the lake proper right now. This is probably from the shore of Oakland. This is probably 500 yards out from this one certain spot. And so here's the Oakland Cemetery. This is where water damage comes in handy. And you'll see this in a moment. I don't know why that's there. Anyone have a clue? I don't know. Oakland Cemetery has it. I don't know why it's there. So there's the schoolhouse / church at Oakland. It's gone. It's under the lake. It's gone. From these negatives, we can actually pull out and find, hey, that's what that church looked like. That's what the schoolhouse looked like. You see the stakes here? This is a really good looking cemetery. This is really good. All they need is just a nice little fire to go through before Decoration Day, so like April. The best time to do this, Easter, the day of Easter, after they have dinner on the ground, they have ticking, where you go out and you burn the woods or you burn certain lots. They would burn cemeteries, and it would clear off the cemetery, and so then you'd have Decoration Day. Everything will look pretty good. And so,
did they relocate the building or just the graves? Meaning the church?
I do not think that I have no record of them relocating the building.
So it's down there somewhere.
It's down there somewhere.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I doubt if there's much, there's rubble there. I doubt if it looks like that underneath the lake all this time. So we're talking 70 some years coming up this year. Okay, yeah. So here's Oakland's, here's what I didn't notice till right here. You see this right here? There's a ladder down into a grave site, and there's a coffin. They're already digging up right here. They're exhuming bodies right now.
Question. They didn't always show in a good concrete casket. There had to be some finite movement of bones and so forth. Did they not?
Well, not everyone was. Most people were buried in wooden coffins. I mean, we have burials all the way back to 1831, and they did not make really structurally sound coffins for the centuries. And so bodies will decay. You're going to have the body decay, and then you're going to have the bones. With all of our humidity and moisture going through, precipitating through the soil, it's going to disintegrate the body.
Quite a job.
So I've been out on digs where bodies were buried in cemeteries for 150 years, and there's really not much there. So, and this is the new Oakland Cemetery. This is Highway 5 North, right before you hit the state line. This is a combination of the Oakland, the Hogan and Yocum cemeteries. The Hogan Cemetery, we're gonna see here in a moment, some of the most unique, it's just a unique family structure and cemetery. There's some really unique things there. So yeah, there it is. Anglin, Rabbit Branch, you see Oakland, Hogan, and Yocum. January 1949. This is the Hogan Cemetery. Is it Hogan? It is. It's the Hogan Cemetery. So you're going to see the stakes here. Each stake has a little aluminum plate on it with 2 nails, and there's going to be a number on there. There's a number, and so they're going to say that number is Lucy. And Lucy has a number, and so they're going to exhume her, take her to Oakland, the new Oakland Cemetery, and do that. And she still has that tombstone there and that monument.
Did they move the monument?
If it's a monument, they moved it. If it was a field stone, they didn't. If it was a crypt, they didn't. They gave them wooden tombstones soaked in creosote and painted white, and they put their name on it, and a lot of people just, it was basically, most people, it was field stones. They didn't know who exactly it was, and most of them said unknown. They actually made all the crypts and the boxes here in Mountain Home, Arkansas, off of College Street, behind the old college. There was a barn back there, and they contracted to use that barn to build the wooden boxes and coffins for the remains. And some boxes were small because there wasn't a whole lot there, but whatever they found, they moved. So here's the Hogan Cemetery. There it is. Now, I want you to see these keystones here. These headstones are like keystones here. This one, this one. You go to the Oakland Cemetery, they're still there. I remember as a kid going, man, these are some strange things. I was thinking they were people's heads, shaking people's heads. And so, but then you're gonna have these stone tables, which is a Cumberland Mountains, East Tennessee. This is where this comes from. This comes from East Tennessee in the Cumberland Mountains. A lot of this does. Now, don't get upset. We didn't have vandals. What's going on right here? They're taking the tombstones, and the families are dislodging the tombstones from the foundation. You don't want to haul the tombstone and the foundation together because they're cemented together, because when you're on the truck and it moves around, that thing snaps, it can bust. So you take it apart. They will reassemble it with new cement at the new cemetery. So I had one lady, she was really disturbed one time. She saw that, and she's like, well, that just disturbs me. They're desecrating it. Well, you have to snap the tombstones apart, and they're going to be fixed up really nice. And so this is called the foot. Inside the foot is the rest of this stone. It's been snapped off. This is really common. This is common in many cemeteries in the Ozarks. Cattle can do it. Hogs coming through the cemetery can do it. Cattle can do it. People can do it, and people riding on lawnmowers can do it. And so what you have to do, you have to take the foot out here, dig out the broken portion, and slide it back in. It's mortar and tenison together. Okay, and next. So we're doing the Yocum Cemetery right here. And we've got some really cool things here. This is out near, this is on the east side. This is where Oakland is at. On the other side was called Yocum Bend. So there's 2 Yocum cemeteries. This guy was a federal marshal and a deputy sheriff. And his stone was broken, but it has been repaired, and it's at the Oakland Cemetery right now. And I wrote a nice little article on him about 3 or 4 years ago. Interesting story. He was killed in the line of duty in Marion County. You're going to see stones like this. When you see a little lamb on a stone, it's a child. They used the keystone, the headstone, as the headstone, and they just moved it there. I will say the Hogan and the Yocum Bend cemeteries are the two most unique cemeteries in the Oakland area. I mean, it's just so Tennessee. I mean, it just screams, we're from Tennessee, and they are. I mean, it's amazing. And so we're gonna finish that one up. Here's just some stone slabs from down off the river and the creeks. Okay, this one's going to be Yocum Bend. Yocum Bend. A cemetery, and it's just all grown up. Got all these trees. Now, you're going to notice on the trees, historically, the further south you go, the more oak and hickory trees from Oakland down, you're going to have more oak and hickory trees in your cemeteries. The more you work your way up north on the White River up into Ozark County and Taney County, you're going to find walnut trees like crazy. It's amazing, the walnut trees, just beautiful walnut trees. I hope they cut and milled some of those trees before the lake came in. And so you have a lot of stone tables. You see all the stakes here. Another big stone family table. This is called a tent or a pup tent. And if there's a cemetery near a house or something and kids are playing hide and go seek, it works. There you go. This one, actually, they even have a triangle cut out here. And some of them that you'll see don't even have this one. I mean, they don't even have this. They just stack up stones inside of the triangle. That's pretty well common. To have this stone cut here on both sides, that is pretty cool. This is Wildcat. This is up Highway 178, then off towards the White River north of Flippin. And we have that here. So I want you to notice here, you have this pavilion for Wildcat. They have a pavilion there so they can have Sunday dinners and meetings at the cemetery. When you're going to bring someone to bury, a lot of times they would use this pavilion and they would set the body underneath there. They would have their service and then they would take them out somewhere where they're located and then put them into the grave. And so the pavilion is there. Just remember that. Family plots. Here's one. This lady's Cora Stone. She just caught my interest. Really good picture here. And so I'm thinking, I wonder what it looks like today. So this is 1949. This is today. So the one cool thing about some of these photographs, it's hard to read this. It's easier to read the script here. That script is really unique. So I took that script and I looked at it and I thought, well, that's pretty amazing. And so I found that script inside of Tombstones and Monuments from where? Sears and Roebuck. In the time period, in the year that she passed away, this is the catalog, 1903, somewhere through there. And actually, here's the verse. Like a flower, she passed away, destroyed in all her bloom. She left this world and her friends to molder in the tomb. And you paid for that right there, 2.5 cents per letter, $1.05 on top of what you're going to pay for the monument. So the family ordered this for Cora, and a grand total of, are you ready? $12.75. $12.75 in the early 1900s is still, for a family, that's pretty hefty. We are talking a family can actually earn about $1.10 a week $1.10 a week, and a little over $12 was spent. This is a 12-week salary saved up and ordered. At Wildcat, I've heard my grandmother talk about having revivals at the church there, and all of a sudden, ta-da, there it is. There it is. This right here is not the river. This is a hazing from the photograph. This is actually a field. Now here is north of Flippin, a couple miles on the left-hand side. This is the Fairview Cemetery. This is the new one. What do you see new built out there? You got a pavilion.
Yes.
They had a pavilion at Wildcat. They're going to do the same thing there, and everyone gets the benefit of that pavilion. The Yocums didn't have a pavilion. The Hogans didn't have a pavilion, but the Wildcat did, and so they all came together. We're sharing, and everyone gets a pavilion. So we actually have some names attached here.
Yeah.
There's family members right there, McCracken's. And here it is today. Last year. Well, today, last year. Close enough. So this is the Friends Cemetery. This is up near Isabella, Missouri. Or Missouri for everyone else. So we can go out here, we can see what's underneath the lake. You're almost to Theodosia. So here we have that. See the trees throughout here? We still have kind of a savanna, scrubby brush, a lot of old cedar trees. People up in Ozark County is going to have a real interest in this one, right here. Civil War veteran, Union soldier, stone's broken. The Hurd family. And we can click on through here. And we also have some of the stacking tables, stone tables, structures. And monuments that have been snapped. Honestly, it's got to be cattle. Just a really good, I'm a good guesser on this one. It's cattle. As you slip on through here. So it is, honestly, it's a bad thing that we lose our cemeteries, but if it wasn't for the Corps doing this would have been, just think another 70 years on top of this.
Oh, wow.
Consider 70 years. They would be lost. They would be lost.
So how many cemeteries did they move?
51 or 52.
Do you know how many actual bodies are?
Don't know.
That's a lot.
They have the count and I didn't count them. I have a book of all of them. I just have not gone through with my pencil and going 1, 2, 3. This is the New Friends. This is called the New Friends Cemetery. This was in January of '49. Oops, let's slip back here, Yeah. So this is Lead Hill. This is Lead Hill underneath the lake.
Oh.
So we have a town. So we lost that, part of that, because right there is the cemetery. Have a store right here. The Lead Hill ones had a lot of water damage here. We did a lot of work here to redo some of that. That's not a puffy cloud, that's water. Just think puffy clouds though. And a lot of these are called beds and we have beds and cradles. And we have infants buried here. What do you see in the very background? There's no bridge up there. See the bridge up here?
Yeah.
There's the old bridge. That took you all the way up towards Pro Tem and up into Missouri. I don't know, I'm going to say this. Maybe it was a groundhog, I'm just saying. The hillbilly in me has to say a few things every so often. And so, you can't forget the groundhogs. Okay, there's this, so this is our lead hill. Slipping through. This is a better picture of the bridge here. And then we have the new Lead Hill Cemetery. So I'm going to talk about one of our last cemeteries to talk about tonight. I'm going to talk about the Free Black Cemetery. We had a free black colony here in northern Arkansas. It was the largest free black colony this side of the Mississippi, larger than the free black colony down in Little Rock, Arkansas. It stretched all the way from the river fly-in, the valley fly-in north of Cotter, all the way up the river to Promised Land, up to Oakland. The Colliers was actually the ones who initiated it. There's a mountain up there near Oakland up towards the state line. It used to be called Collier Mountain from Dave Collier. We have a book by Professor or Dr. Billy Higgins. We have it over in our Arkansas section. It's called A Stranger and Sojourner, about Peter Collier, Dave Collier, and the Free Black Frontiersmen. They actually started out as, they were in the Army, 1812, good soldiers. After service for 10 years or so, guess what? You get land. Some of the land that they were going to get was down in Bald Knob, Arkansas. It's not as good as up here. So they ended up here and getting better land. And so all the way up towards Promised Land. The reason I'm bringing this out is because we have this cemetery up here, and it's right on the edge of the lake in Lakeview area. Up in this area. This is the only cemetery that was not moved. Couple reasons. There's not a cemetery board. They evacuated, the families evacuated because in Arkansas there was something called Act 151 in 1859. Act 151 said basically if you're African American, you're free black. 1860, January 1, 1860, that you could be sold into slavery. So what are you going to do? Where are you located at? You're located in North Arkansas. What's a mile or two north as a crow flies? Missouri. They ended up over in southeastern Missouri. And so that cemetery is in this area right here. They have it documented there. Now let's say where that location is at, it's rather high up away from the lake. And if you go there, there's no tombstones. They have field stones. You have rocky soil. Body decay, you're not really going to find a whole lot there. They were up against a hard problem here. And so what are you going to do? They took pictures and photographs. This is one of the pictures. We're going to click on through here. We keep working it with artificial intelligence. It's getting there. Ta-da! There we go. This is it. It's a field. It's a field. No, none. Nothing to really mark it.
Hardly relocate something you can't see.
So this is my feeble attempt. I had to put this in. My first feeble attempt of ever doing a negative. I was so excited. My whiteboard did not come in. I had to develop a negative. So what did I do? I stuck it to my computer screen. I took a picture with it with my cell phone. There's better ways. So it turns out something like this to this. It's not bad. So, yeah, I couldn't wait. So we're just about ready to wrap up. Some of the other things that were affected were not only Bull Shoals, Flippin, Yellville, Bull Shoals, Flippin area with the conveyor belt and Cotter. It also affected towns all the way up the White River, all the way up to Forsyth. And so there is a creek up there called Swan Creek. It's a pretty popular creek up there. And so we have a negative Swan Creek right there. And so with the negative right here, we have the new, this is the old bridge across Swan Creek. This is the new bridge. Here's the black and white. I sent this to a friend of mine. He does the mapping for Branson, city of Branson, in the area up there. His name is Curtis Coleman. He's gonna be here next month. You need to show up, hear him lecture on hillbillies. My little commercial here.
Yes.
Look right here on this old bridge. You got a bass with his mouth open.
Huh.
They put it in the bridge there. I'm like, oh, cool beans. Isn't that cool? And so they're already excavating out and they're putting this bridge all the way across here. And here are guys putting in the metal bridge on top.
A year on that?
They're jacked up in the air a little bit. This right here is 1949. They poured it early in 1949, they poured the columns. So this is the latter part of 1949, they're putting the steel structure in. 1950, they're gonna be finished pretty much with everything 1950. They pretty much had a mandate, we gotta get this done as quick as possible. Old bridge, new bridge. This is Theodosia. So here's the problem with Theodosia. We don't have negatives. These are black and white photographs. So you're fighting with the glare on black and white photographs.
It's grainier.
And so it's grainier. The resolution that you can get with negatives and blow them up, you can play with negatives all day long. When you have a small photograph this large, it's not working as well. And so, but at least there it is. As a kid, we used to go out here at Theodosia and go swimming, and we used to go over where the bridge is at, and we would dive down as far as we could, and we'd try to pick up a piece of gravel or a rock on the bridge. But we did it when on dry years, okay? And so you can always cheat if you go down and grab it with your toe and swim back up. So, but that is the old bridge right there. Now we have a park there and a restaurant and the cooks up there, and there's a lot more on that hill right now at Theodosia. The boat dock, and it's going underwater. And some of the equipment to build the road, as they were building the road and across the dam, across the bridge and laying the concrete. And so it doesn't take the colors as well. So I'll work with, I thought black and whites I was happy. It's one of the first week I got them, I was doing this, but black and white photos, no. Somebody scribbled on here and we took it and popped it into a negative, and it says bridge is now underwater. Looks like writing, and so we figured out what that was. I had a bunch of people coming in, trying to look at it, trying to read it, and we finally figured it out. So, all right. I am getting ready to wrap this up. So the dedication that took place here for Bull Shoals and North Fork Dam, and it took place July 2nd, 1952. So what does that mean this year? This is 2022. 70 years ago, we had the dedication ceremony for both dams.
Same time, both dams?
Yes, same time, both dams. They did North Fork Dam first, and then they did Bull Shoals Dam. And over the weekend, we had festivities, we had square dancing, we had the bathing beauties for the dam bathing beauties. The bathing beauties for the dams. So you can go back and pick up your programs. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up tonight, and this will be on YouTube here in a few days. And so if you want to go back and take a look at it, thank you very much.